Monday sports show. Well, now there's something to talk about this NFL preseason. I'll tell you that. Caleb Williams starts for the first time in Ben Johnson's offense as the Chicago Bears flatly rout the Buffalo Bills in a game that the Bills looked completely disinterested in after about a quarter and a half. They win 38-0. Now, obviously, there isn't a whole lot to take away from this game. It's the preseason. This by no means that the Bills are any less of a team or the Bears are any more of a team. But there are some things to take away from what we saw. And I'll start off with the obvious. Caleb looked unbelievable on that first drive. You can't get a whole lot better than 5 for 6 for 97 yards and a touchdown. I thought he looked very poised in the pocket. When he got to his back foot, the ball was coming out quickly. There wasn't as much off script stuff. I thought Ben Johnson did a good job early of making pretty simple little completions, especially that first one, that little boot to the right where he tossed it over to Loveland, the tight end. Speaking of which, I think getting two tight ends for Caleb Williams in this first year in Ben Johnson's offense is actually going to be a better idea than I thought it was originally. Now, I'm going to get to the Bears' offensive line in a little bit here, and maybe the draft capital that they spent on Loveland could have been used to fill that void that they're so desperately trying to fill at this point. But in terms of comfortability that I think Caleb's going to have in targets, there's just nothing better than having a big tight end who can be bigger than corners and faster than the linebackers, just an advantage mismatch. And I think that's what Loveland brings. And Cole Kmet reminded you, if you forgot, that he's a really, really good tight end too, like top half of the league kind of tight end, like top 16 guy. I think having both of those pieces is going to be an awesome safety blanket for Caleb. Plus the fact that DeAndre Swift is a pretty good receiving running back. I think it's going to be cool for Caleb to kind of have those check down options where he won't necessarily have to be Superman every single play to push the ball downfield. I also thought that Ian Wheeler kid who they brought in, the running back, undrafted, I thought he had a bit of pop. I think obviously the snaps are going to be mostly consumed by Swift, but if I'm being totally honest, I'm not the biggest DeAndre Swift fan. I think he's like the 25th best running back in the NFL, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if this Wheeler kid gets a couple of reps throughout the season, especially as inevitably injuries start to pile up for all of these teams. It wouldn't surprise me. And also another funny note from the broadcast, which I don't know if this is a good thing for Bears fans to hear or a bad thing. I'm still a little indifferent about it. But on the broadcast, Greg Olson said that Ben Johnson told him Luther Burden could be better than Roma Dunze. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. He didn't say that exactly, but first of all, I don't think Greg Olson was supposed to say that. I feel like that's kind of one of those evaluations that you make in confidence. But is that a knock on Roma Dunze or is that a tribute to Luther Burden? You decide. But like I said, Caleb looked fantastic on that first drive. That slant that he threw to Zacchaeus was a rope. He had a couple of very nice throws over the middle. That one to Komet stands out where he just really, again, 5-step drop, back foot, throw it over the Mike linebacker to a seam route where cover two safeties just dropped. So there's a hole in the middle of the field. Like it just was very, very good and very, very structured. So Bears fans, raise another off-season champs banner. Congratulations to all the Bears fans out there. 3 years in a row, off-season champs. So they fleeced the Panthers for that Bryce Young first overall pick, which turned into a haul for them. And then they drafted Caleb Williams and did some extra defensive moves and then redid the entire offensive line this offseason, drafted Colson. Off-season champs. Again, round of applause. 3rd year in a row. Those banners are selling fast and they're selling out quick. So make sure to buy one and before the season starts because obviously they go offline then. But again, I don't want to be Mr. Troll Bears fans or anything like that. I'm trying to really look at this from an objective point of view, which is the fact that the Bears looked very, very good in this game, and Caleb looked very, very good on the first drive. The second drive is what would spark a little bit of concern in me because it did not look anywhere near as smooth. And I kind of attribute that to the fact usually in your first drive, you have a set of plays that are scripted and one bounces off of the other. This counters this. We have two plays dialed up if they show this coverage. Usually, your second, third drive, you don't have scripted plays and they're just being called in like they are for the rest of the game. Now, I don't know if that second drive was scripted, but it sure didn't look like it was scripted. It was a lot more messy. Caleb had a bit of a drive killer on that third down, which, according to his own words, this isn't me, he did not properly identify the blitz and he got pressured really quick through actually a decent ball to Adunze, but he couldn't come down with it. But let's put this all into context. The Bills played one defensive starter and they benched a bunch of backups too. They were playing their fifth and sixth string guys for the majority of this game. And although the headlines are going to be all about Caleb Williams and that 97 yards that he threw for on that first drive, what should be the sub headline is Bears injuries start to pile up on defensive depth because Austin Booker, he went to the locker room midway through the third quarter, I think. And apparently it's a knee injury, did not return. And another defensive end that they have, Dominique Robertson, he left the game early with an ankle injury that they're reporting. Now, these guys, you might not know their names. They're definitely not Myles Garrett or Aiden Hutchinson I'm talking about here, but these are the number 3 and 4 edge rushers on the Bears. And as far as a position group that the Bears can't really afford to sustain long-term injuries on, I would say defensive edge and left and right tackle are the two position groups where it's like you need as much depth as you can with the roster that they have. As far as sack production goes, their edge rushers are thin. And obviously, these aren't headlining injuries, but like I said, as the season starts to progress, you see more and more guys go down with a week to week injury, a day to day. You're going to need those depth pieces. And it looks like both of them may be on the shelf for a little bit, which obviously I don't like for anybody. And it's a really, really lame progression that happened in an otherwise perfect night for the Chicago Bears. Now, I just want to kind of look at an overview of the Bears now. Obviously, you can't take a whole lot from the preseason. So, obviously, Caleb looked great. There were a couple of little issues that I saw. But in terms of how he's been progressing in general, what concerns me is the fact that obviously I'm not on the field. I live nowhere near Chicago. I'm not the one reporting this stuff. I read what is reported and I read it thoroughly. Caleb all camp has been awesome in 7-on-7 stuff. And reportedly that continued in the Bills joint practices that they participated in where he actually did get to have some reps against the Bills' starting defense, which obviously is great work. But when it came to 11-on-11, by all reports, it was pretty mediocre. There were a lot of false starts. Again, I don't know this. I'm reiterating what's been reported. Lots of false starts, lots of miscommunication errors, lots of little stuff that needs to be cleaned up, and lots of stuff that usually is messy between a first-time head coach, play caller, and a second-year quarterback who's been in a completely different system for his first year, and probably throughout his entire college career, if we're being honest. But it's interesting how in 7-on-7 he's performing significantly better than in 11-on-11. So why could that be? Well, the Bears' interior O line is pretty set. I loved the signing of Joe Tooney. Obviously, you don't want to pay a guard free agent that much money, but in terms of the fact that Caleb's still on a rookie deal, the number one priority is protecting him. I was cool with the move. Jonah Jackson's a good player. Drew Dahlman's a decent center. Left tackle, though, looks like a gaping hole in the Bears' offense. And it's not conjecture or too much to say that is the most important spot on the offensive line for a right-handed quarterback. It's their blind side. It's where most edge rushers are going to be coming from. Those are the best players in the league, mostly, those edge rushers who can get to the quarterback quickly. Obviously, your interior is where the run game's set, but in terms of pass pro, it has a lot to do with how those tackles are able to hold up. And this is a quote directly from Ben Johnson. This thing, the left tackle position, has gone on now for 3.5 weeks. And I'll say it again. We'll go as long as we need until we find the right guy. But we just like someone to go ahead and make it clear to us that he is that guy. And we just haven't seen that yet as a staff. There's been too much up and down. So this is obviously a direct shot at Braxton Jones, who is their current left tackle. Now, he fractured his ankle in week 16 of last year and obviously missed the rest of the season. And reportedly, as Ben Johnson just put, it's been very, very up and down. He'll have a good day and a bad day. Now, they have a couple of other options, neither of which are great. They have Theo Benedict, who reportedly has been improving, but he's not a starting caliber tackle yet. And they have an undrafted rookie, Ozzy Trapolo. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that name correctly, but again, this left tackle spot could be a massive issue for the Chicago Bears. And it's not like their right tackle spot is exactly Trent Williams over there, or Penei Sewell. Like Darnell Wright's a decent player, but he's not a game changer. That's concerning, especially again for a young quarterback in a new offense. His best throws, obviously, during that first drive, he had great protection. No one within 2 feet of him, like pocket clean as can be. And if they can continue that, I'm sure that this offense is going to be effective. But let's not forget, Ben Johnson designed this whole offense with the fact that he has the best offensive line in football in Detroit in the back of his head. You can draw up a bunch of different blocking schemes and rollouts and pass protection concepts when you have the personnel to do so, especially again at the tackle spots, which are usually the most versatile in sets like that, where guards are pulling and double teaming tackles and nose guards and all of that stuff. I don't know if he necessarily has the personnel to be able to pull out those different kind of schemes, especially with the fact that his quarterback, who needs to set the protection before the play, you can design it as much as you want, but you have to adjust on the fly. He doesn't quite have the knowledge of the offense to be able to make those adjustments succinctly yet. Now, maybe he'll get there, but I don't think he's there yet. And the fact that he missed that blitz on the third down to Odunze, again, strikes me as a fact that he doesn't quite have full control of this offense and what they're trying to do yet. So there's a lot of positive for the Chicago Bears. There's no doubt about it. I think Caleb is actually going to have a very good bounce back season. I like Rome Odunze. I don't know if I love them. I do love their tight ends though. I think they've got enough weapons. But for me, the Bears don't have the ceiling that a lot of people think they do. I think their defense is good. I don't think it's great. They have a really good corner who we think is going to be healthy for week 1 maybe. A good pass rush, decent secondary, like they're good. Nothing special, they're good. And again, with their offense, I don't love their wide receivers. I don't love their running backs. I love their tight ends. I love the interior of the offensive line, and I hate their tackles. So you break that all down and put it into the smoothie of Spitz picks. To me, anywhere from like 7 to 11 wins sounds about right to me. And I know that's a pretty big gap, but I don't see them be I'm gonna say 7 to 10. I don't see 11 wins for this team. That could come back to bite me in the ass, that little changeup, but I really, really don't think that they have the explosiveness that Ben Johnson has in a typical offense, and like I said, their tackle spot seems to be a big issue, and I don't think they have the defense that's gonna be able to hold up early in the year while Caleb has these growing pains. They'll be able to hold up, but they won't be spectacular enough to win those games, especially when the Bears have such a tough schedule this year for a last place team. I think they have some issues there. But I think the hottest take that I have is I think the Bears, if the first 4 weeks don't go according to plan, let me find out because I made a whole video about how I believe that Ben Johnson might have some issues with actually leading a football team and instilling football character. So they start with the Vikings, tough game, then the Lions, the Cowboys. If they're 0-3 in those first 3 games, which is definitely on the board, I think Ben could really start losing patience and start pressing a bit. I feel like he just kind of has that gene in him where he can short circuit a little bit. I've seen it in Detroit. And you can do that as an offensive coordinator when Dan Campbell's your head coach because he is the tone setter. But if he starts to lose patience and therefore parts of the locker room, I could see the Bears winning like 5 games this year, 4 or 5 games. I'm not saying I think Ben Johnson is going to be a bust as a head coach, but I think people underestimate what it takes to be a head football coach versus what it takes to be an offensive coordinator. But again, 7 to 10 wins for the Bears is probably about right. It's about where I see him ending up. Thank you guys so much as always for watching. I want to know, what do you guys think the Bears are going to do this season? Did you enjoy watching the preseason, or how excited are you for the regular season to show up? Let me know in the comments below. I'm small enough as to where I can respond to all comments and love doing so. So drop some down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed what you heard. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed what you heard. Spit Sports Show just hit over 400 subscribers. Big things happening on this channel. As always, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out. Love you guys.